our lead story of the day comes from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis finally putting these woke colleges on notice and having them turn in their receipts, quite literally, because he's doing a deep dive to see where all the wasteful spending is going and coming from at these state universities. And these places have basically been indoctrination camps for decades. So finally somebody's looking under the hood. And wait till we get into the details and numbers of all this, folks. Your freaking head's going to spin. But before we get into all of it, as always, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. And do me a huge favor right now. Just double check to make sure that bell icon actually says all notifications and that YouTube didn't go into your profile without you knowing and changing it on you. Some of you will have to change it, but your help and support will be greatly appreciated. It says here, the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis requested information on diversity expenditures from state universities. A memo addressed to Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz and Florida State University System Chancellor Ray Rodriguez, which was sent on December 28th and posted to social media on Wednesday by DeSantis' press secretary, Brian Griffin, told the officials to gather data on diversity initiatives in the higher education system as Florida legislature begins to consider budget proposals. That's a fancy way of saying, hey, we're going to start trimming the fat. And that fat's going to be leftist programs, folks. I'm stoked for this. I hope they get rid of a lot of programs here. Like I said, wait till we get into the numbers. Quote, it is important that we have a full understanding of the operational expenses of state institutions, the memo said. The letter is a request for information from the Department of Education and the state university system regarding the expenditure of state resources on programs and initiatives related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and critical race theory within our state colleges and universities. For each initiative, university administrators were told to include a brief description of the program, the number of staff positions, meaning people that we can actually fire, associated with the program, the total funding used to support that program, so we know how much we're actually going to trim, and the portion of the funding that came from taxpayer dollars to really see how much wasteful money we've been doing here and how much money we've been wasting from our taxpayers. Can't wait till we get those numbers when the full thing's done, basically conducting an audit here. Numerous reports have noted the inflow of capital into the diversity sector, which garnered attention following the George Floyd death in the summer of 2020. Public universities, folks, you sitting down for this? In Michigan, Maryland, Virginia, and Illinois, so only 4 places, employed diversity officials who pocketed salaries ranging from $329,000 to $430,000. Yes, close to $500 million. You heard me correctly. Diversity officials, you guys. In a nutshell, look at paperwork and make sure the university is meeting their quotas on certain races attending that university are making almost $500 million. Talk about waste. Well, this comes from a report from Fox News, while an analyst from the Heritage Foundation found that colleges hire an average of three diversity staffers for every 100 tenured faculty. You could be saving millions and millions just on this one leftist ridiculous program or initiative of getting diversity officials out there. Just get rid of them. I want to say like 5 or 10 years ago, and it could be even longer now at this point, I remember listening to Johnny Ken on AM 640 down here on iHeartRadio, and they were talking about a diversity hire that was doing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Same thing here that I'm sure these people are doing. I want to say it was at a Southern California university that was hired at like $680,000 to make sure the university was basically meeting their quota on certain races attending that university. I don't want to call it a university because I'm not specific on which one it was, but I'll have to look it up later. Maybe I'll pin it in the comments below. But it's just ridiculous on how much these people are making and also spending. Quote, state legislatures, boards of higher education, and university trustees should investigate the extent of resources devoted to DEI personnel at the universities they oversee and subsidize, the conservative think tank concluded. Stakeholders should demand evidence about whether DEI resources are necessary and effective for achieving appropriate goals. The vast majority of them are not, folks. I would really like to point out we just did a story like the other week, maybe 2 weeks ago tops, where there were these leftist professors or these people that are basically conducting studies on corporations, because we talked about how corporations spent exorbitant amount of money on these studies for DEI initiatives and resources to see if certain trainings were actually being productive and it was really worth its weight. Short conclusion, it wasn't. It was a complete waste of money, so much so that literally they cut certain studies short, like these employers of these corporations. And then the person, the diversity, equity, inclusion person that was running the study was going, oh, well, this is why the study didn't work out. This is why it went against what my thesis was or what my end conclusion was going to be. I think it was going to be effective, but since it was cut early, it was no longer effective anymore. And they had certain other variables that they wanted injected in these different studies that were doing the exact same things at different corporations as to why it didn't work. Basically complaining anybody and everything because the study didn't go the way that they thought. Even ones that actually finished the study found that it was ineffective as well. So what we could see from all this stuff, complete waste of money, millions and millions of taxpayer dollars completely down the drain for years and years, giving people this kind of money to sit behind a desk and go, oh, okay, well, that's let's check that one off the box. That guy's a person of color. Oh, we got an Asian person here. Cool. Let's do this one here. That person's white. Oh, that person's Hispanic. Oh, Native American. That's awesome. That's all they're doing, basically, folks. I'm really summarizing it, but hey, that's what $430,000 is going to get you. DeSantis, who entered a second term as chief executive of the Sunshine State after a landslide re-election victory, has enacted a number of reforms meant to combat the spread of critical race theory. The official signed Senate Bill 1108 and House Bill 233 into law 2 years ago. The former piece of legislation requires state college and state university students to take both a civic literacy course and a civic literacy assessment as a graduation requirement, which is awesome. Civics used to be taught in high school, but hey, the progressive left want to do away with that because, hey, if people don't know how governments ran and how our nation actually runs, then how can they vote appropriately? And they'll probably vote for the Democrat Party because they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why a lot of people that vote Democrat don't have a clue what the hell's going on. They want bigger government. They think the government can solve anything and everything. They think government's baby daddy, when in reality, it's supposed to be first your family, then it's your neighbor, then it's your locality, then it's your state institution. I actually skipped out church, so it really should be family, church, locality, state institution, then the federal government if you were to need help. But it's all reversed now. Now it's just the federal government. Help me with anything and everything. Make sure you give me that money, give me that handout so I can take care of myself. That doesn't mean a safety net isn't needed. Okay, safety net is needed, but people take advantage of that as well. So thank God he's putting in that sort of course that you actually need to graduate. Whereas some courses, like I know there's California universities, or at least the state universities here, used to have a writing assessment that you had to do that you had to pass, which is basically bogus. You pass that and then you're able to actually graduate the university. All the while, they get rid of the entry-level courses of your placement exams for English and math. So because so many people were actually failing it, they weren't getting into the entry-level mathematic courses. And those courses, those prerequisites were completely filled. They couldn't even hire enough people to actually teach all these people. And so they get in the entry-level mathematics and actually graduate college. And then when they done away with that, they basically go, hey, you know what? Just pick whatever course you want. You'll be fine. Well, I'm sure you know how that turns out. So that's been a bleep storm ever since. But, I can go on a rant about that. Let's get back to what's going on here. Reforms in the primary and secondary education systems drew from leftist and media outlets, and large corporations contended that the new parental rights law discriminated against proponents of the LGBTQ movement. And one such statute prohibited instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity for students between kindergarten and third grade. These people got upset because they didn't want children from kindergarten to third grade to be groomed, to be pushed to be transgender or whatever it may be, confusing the hell out of these kids. God forbid that we just teach them arithmetic, math, English, how to multiply, and actually just focus on the things that they actually need rather than confusing these kids with things that you for sure, that you barely know about, that you're expecting a kindergarten, a third grade kid to know about. But these are groomers, folks. It's basically the party of groomers now, the leftist party, the Democrats in conjunction with them, grooming these kids, treating them all weird, making sure they get them out to drag shows that are on campus or clubs that they don't know about, their parents don't know about, but they're invited to by their friend that's trying to transition them from male to female, all this sorts of wacko stuff. But hey, they're going to get upset by that because it's a freaking great law, so their kids aren't being indoctrinated with all this crazy stuff. But hey, the Democrats want that supposedly because we all saw what happened in the midterms. Quote, we must ensure school systems are responsive to parents and the students, not partisan interest groups, and we must ensure that our institutions of higher learning are focused on academic excellence and the pursuit of truth, not the imposition of trendy ideology. DeSantis reiterated during the second inaugural address. We will enact more family-friendly policies to make it easier to raise children, and we will defend our children against those who seek to rob them of their innocence. Those that seek to rob them of their innocence are called the Democrat Party. Okay, I know people don't want to call them out. I know that not all Democrats are like that, but boy, oh boy, is a lot of that party really moving in conjunction with the progressive left on indoctrinating our kids, making sure they're giving them puberty blockers, hormone enhancers, making sure they're transitioning the right way with the school psychologist, at the Planned Parenthood that's on campus without the parents knowing, making sure that they're changing their names without the parents knowing, all this stuff. They don't want parental involvement. They want to make sure because they believe they know more than you and that they're the parent of your child and you are not. Stuff is crazy, folks. Support us here on The Bald Brad Show if you haven't already by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.